Hey everybody, how's it going out there in the gaming world? This is the Game and Watch podcast, episode number 77. I'm your host this week, MrMaddness, aka Marc, and I am joined by two of our finest people, including Finest himself.
Dang right. Hey, what's going on? I love that intro, man.
I
Uh,
know,
I,
I
I I can
know.
get used to that.
And let's not forget, we also have our Australian correspondent Matt joining us
Who
as
is
well.
incredibly dark for our video podcast watchers at the moment. Unusual for me, I know, but I think we're getting closer to winter. So
I
you
know.
Is
should
it?
see the sunrise.
Are those blackout shades? Like it is even like a lot darker in your room today.
No, man. In fact, let's do a bonus for the video podcast watchers. It is actually currently dark out there, or darkish rather. So
It's not
it's
that dark. It's almost as dark here.
look, this camera is actually excellent. It's doing a bit of light management there and
Uh,
making it look like it's actually much better than it is.
Look, our days are getting longer. Your days are getting shorter. So,
Isn't
yeah.
it the other way around? Oh no, it is too.
No,
Sorry.
no, you're in Australia. I'm
Pull
pretty sure I know
backwards.
how it works. It's winter here. It's summer there. Although for some of our correspondents, some of our podcast buddies, they are at the SoCal Gaming Expo Too Tall. I'm sure we'll get a report from him next week on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, Game and Watch podcast brought to you by Our View Gaming. That's an OVG production. Catch us live on YouTube or Twitch. Make sure you're following us wherever you follow people, wherever, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere. That way, when we go live. We try to make it, once a week, Saturday or Sunday, but you never know which day. So make sure you're following us so you can catch us live on those platforms. We're also on pretty much any podcast platform you're looking at. So Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us there. Donate to our Patreon. It's at Our View Gaming. Anything donated will contribute in making this a better show for all. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach us at the Game and Watch podcast. That's an N, not and, at gmail.com. Any questions or comments, feel free to let us know there. And you can find some of our personal links to our other podcasts that we may host in the show notes below.
I should mention we are always happy to, read out questions on the show and read funny jokes and all that funny stuff.
Yeah,
If
send
anyone
in,
wants to
send it in, people. Like, don't hesitate whatsoever. I look
I'll
forward
answer
to.
anything. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't have no problem. I will answer anything.
And MrMaddness's first and last time as a host. of the Game
Probably. I've tried to keep it G rated here as opposed to some of my other podcasts. Anyway, how's everybody doing today? How are we doing in this fine, lovely, almost end of February, thankfully?
I was reminded that the February is shorter than most months, so I thought I had a bit more time this month.
To do what?
It's just
What do you?
life generally. Like I work, the usual 5 days a week, but it always feels longer. And when you do a podcast or two, it's those weekends get a little bit shorter.
Yeah,
So you're always looking for more time. Always looking for more.
Yeah.
That's my only gripe with it.
I mean, for me especially, like February is always like the coldest month of the year, so I want it to end as soon as possible.
That's
For
fair.
somebody living in Australia, I can see why you might want it to last a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's no real deterrence, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And look, I can't walk too far past then at this point and to announce that I've got another podcast rolling. If you wouldn't mind me doing a shameless plug,
Please drop it.
that's it.
That?
So on point. So for anyone listening, I've released a new podcast. It's a gaming news podcast as well. Very short form, just under 10 minutes. It's called The Dead Drop, and you can subscribe to it on your podcast player. There's a thumbnail on screen for any of the video watchers of the podcast out there.
Yep.
And it's just a new project for me. I'm trying to find a way to divert news and make it really short form, succinct, and easy for people to pick up if they want to be across the industry in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, not everybody can devote hours to listening to a podcast, but if you've got 10 minutes, I recommend listening to it.
Absolutely.
That's it. So if you, our humble audience, wouldn't mind doing me a favor, just jump on your podcast player, check out The Dead Drop, and in brackets, video game news, to differentiate it from all of the other dead drops out there. And yeah, give it a listen and let me know.
Perfect.
Give
And
me
we'll
some
put it in the
feedback.
show notes too. So everyone
That'd
can
be
pick it
lovely.
up, and yeah, easy peasy.
Thank you very
And
much.
how about you, Finest? So what's going on with you?
You know what? As of update from last week, I think we talked about it on the show, or it could have been before the show or after the show. But my son was sick, and he's still sick. So he's like
But is he getting better?
he's getting better, yes, and that
Well,
is the point of this. Yes,
yes.
went to the doctor, and we put him on a whole bunch of drugs. So yeah, he's getting better. But now my wife is getting sick. So it's just
It's
a
got to go through
constant vicious
everybody.
circle. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's it's definitely a lot of fun. Other than that, been playing as much games as I can. I've been having a lot of late nights over the last week, not just because of all the coughing and hacking, but just because I've been trying to get in as much gaming as possible because all the things that are going on. And other than that, you called this last week, MrMaddness, but baseball got delayed at least for spring training. So
Yeah, I know.
spring training, I was really looking forward to the games coming up. We just had the waste management tour, which is golfing, and that's always a good time. But I was really looking forward to spring training. That's where I get a custom hat like every year, and I just drink a ton of beer and have a good time with the family and all that good stuff. But it's not happening right now. So hopefully baseball resumes as normal. They only postponed it for a week. So
Yeah,
You
we'll see.
Americans
The
have
games should have started by now.
yeah.
you Americans have a lot of names for things, don't you? And you run out eventually, and you have to call a golf tour the Waste Management Golf Tour.
No, that's the weekends tour. It's
Yeah,
just
so
one.
waste
It's just
management.
one instead of like the PGA, the Open or the Masters or something like that. It's the Waste Management Open.
Yeah, waste management is the one that funds the sponsors
Right. So
for this particular event.
they
Okay.
pay for the sponsorship.
Mhm.
They say it all the time, so it's like advertising.
It's
And then
everywhere. It's
the
literally
open
plastered.
the open
Yeah.
part of it is, I think, it is open to almost anybody if you qualify for it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is like exactly like the crypto.com arena. You're not
Yes.
going there to watch Bitcoin race each other. It's just an
Yes.
advertising
Like
opportunity.
the
Okay, cool.
course itself is not the waste management
No,
or
Yeah.
whatever the name of the course is.
I
Although
was thinking of a bunch
they
of
do build
garbologists
right. They
hitting
do
balls
build
around.
golf courses on landfills. Don't know if you know that
Yep.
here in
I know.
America.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Speaking of garbage, no, that's mean. That's kind of mean, isn't it?
Let's keep with the segue. I love that. Yeah.
Keep it rolling.
Knockout City is going free to play, and EA is no longer going to be publishing it. Now, I don't know if that's them saying we don't want to publish this anymore, or we don't want to be involved anymore, or you guys can host it and deal with it on your own. They didn't really give a full answer on that, but the time for the separation to happen is when it enters season 6, which is the second year on the market, June 1st. So there's still going to be a whole season, which you're on season 5, that's going to be under EA's publishing. And I guess the free to play part of it won't go in effect until June 1st, or probably just before that. Now, I don't know anybody that's played Knockout City. That's why I called it a garbage game. I don't know. I don't know who the market for a dodgeball game is, really.
From what I've heard, it's enjoyable. Like a lot of people have had a great time with it, but it hasn't clicked with everybody.
I've only played it for a couple of days. Maybe for like an hour session. Like maybe it was probably a weekend. It was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I know Justin played it also. And I think this is a great move for them. I mean, this reminds me very much of like Bungie going independent, but in a very, very much smaller scale. And I don't believe they would have been able to do this if there wasn't success behind the game. Because this game did pretty well. And then they moved it. It was very much like announced as a Switch game, but it was everywhere. And then it's just continually done well. And I think everyone was a little bit surprised how fun it was.
Yeah, I could see that. How I judge something that is the popularity of a game per
Hmm.
se is how many people are watching it on Twitch, right?
Hmm.
So the top, as we're streaming right now, the top person has 108 viewers. To me, that doesn't scream like a huge hit.
Hmm.
Well, the counter argument for that might be that streaming on Twitch is kind of, it will have its peaks and troughs, and they'll be a lot quicker than they used to be. Like, look, anyone who's playing games for Twitch at the moment is going to be looking for those views on Elden Ring, right? That's going to be where all the games are.
Well, Elden Ring maybe, but if you search for say our big enemy Farming Simulator,
Yeah.
there are a couple streams with over 500 views. So people are watching Farming Simulator more so than Knockout City, which I get it. The appeal is there. Free to play will probably increase the player base. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I mean, but there's what 22 iterations of Farming Simulator and a whole bunch of branch offs
Well,
and things
no,
like that.
actually, they don't come out every year. It's only a couple years.
Oh, I didn't say that they come
I
out,
thought the same thing. It's not
but
22. It's just a year.
I'm pretty sure it says Farming Simulator 22.
Yes, but that's because it came out in 2022, or it's for this
Oh,
year.
For the
okay,
year
Not
2022.
it's
gotcha.
not the 22nd version.
Well, there's still been a ton of different versions, regardless.
I
I
oh
think,
no, regardless, right? You're absolutely right about that. That's just
but
this is the kind of game that should have been free to play in the first place.
but I don't think they had a say in it. And I think that's why the success of it was so great for them because they're able to break off from EA and make those decisions that are best for their company in order to go free to play, to be accessible to everyone and really branch out to their audience. I mean, have you ever heard of the studios called like VLAN Studios?
Yeah, VLAN Studios. The only other game they did was the Mario Kart home circuit.
Yeah, they've only been around for 4 years. I mean, so this is very much like what I would consider an indie game, or an indie studio. And I mean, I really think like this is gonna be like really setting in stone, like almost like a super giant, like
Maybe.
continue to like other games and things like that. Like, I mean, if they can continue putting out like games that are fun to play and really can speak to a audience because there's no other game like this.
Yeah, I mean, and the guys who founded VLAN are the original Vicarious Visions founders, so they
Oh.
know what they're doing.
Definitely.
They've been
But
around.
I've had a quick look at the article as well. It looks like they were part of the EA Originals program and not EA proper, which
Hmm.
is like their independent game incubator. And, you know, as you said, Finest may cast off the shackles of uh, capitalist oppression when they leave that, because EA would be looking to make some sort of revenue off being part of that program, I imagine.
It just screams to me free to play rather than it being. I remember it came out and the price dropped within a week
Yeah,
or two
but I
weeks.
think
It
it
just
was
one
it
of
was
those.
a Game Pass
It
day
was
one as well. I think
PS Plus.
PS Plus. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah,
but yeah, look, it's a good one. It looks good anyway. I haven't touched it, but look,
it is
maybe
fun. It is
it
fun.
has a low user count, maybe because it's got some terrible memories people have from being assaulted in their high school days or even primary school.
Or because it's EA.
Yeah,
People
maybe there's
don't
some
like
trauma
EA.
there, hidden trauma. Oh yeah, from EA as well. That's ooh, interesting.
Mm.
Maybe that's why
Uh,
they're separating. Anyway,
Maybe going
And
from free to play. We're moving on here from free to play to free to try. Final Fantasy 14 is back, and you can get free trials again. It's been what 2 months or so that they suspended the free trials because of congestion. Too many people playing the game, which is something I haven't heard. And this is going way back and will age me a bit. Of when I used to work at GameStop and we had to stop selling WoW because they told us to. They did not have enough server space when it first came out. True story. We had to stop selling it. So they've
really
barely had enough to get the people who want to play on. So if you want a free trial, you can go ahead and get it now. You can get up to level 60 for free, no playtime restrictions.
hmm, it's interesting. I've got a colleague at work that has played and continues to play Final Fantasy 14. Has played it for a long time, and she most notably mentioned the move to the new server, which became available in, I think it was an oceanic server for our side of the planet. And there was a lot of stuff that was in the news recently about trying to push players to move server by making it free to move your character there and adding a lot of incentives and stuff. But it's a really a thriving game still, I think, because
Which is
there's a whole
surprising.
yeah, well, there's a housing economy in there. Like people uh, buy property there, and there's apparently a very large socio-economic disparity there as well. Like the rich buying up the neighborhood, and then the new players and people who don't have enough in-game money are unable to buy properties in the game.
So it reminds me of like an Eve Online economy where it's like so super advanced that it's hard to get into because the rich people are just so rich and can just do anything, and then the people who want to come in and join have nothing, and it sucks coming into a game when you get obliterated all the time. That's why I think a lot of these battle royale games, everybody's on the same page except for skins and things, but everybody pretty much has access to the same weapons. You just have to get a
Yeah,
little lucky. There's no, it's not going to price you out.
no,
Uh,
bit of
the, the
balance is good.
biggest, right, the biggest surprise I have is that this game is still going. It was a pretty
Yeah,
bad release when it first came out, I remember, but it seems to have gotten at some point in the last 4 years, it just grabbed on and seemed to really latch on to being one of the biggest MMOs out there. It was an afterthought for a long time, and just the sixth expansion pack is so popular that they had to pause new people coming in. That's a testament to the quality that they're putting out right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I mean, I used to play Final Fantasy 11 on my PS2, and that's why I bought my expansion pack. Do you guys remember that? Like it
I
came with
do.
SOCOM
You
and
had to get like the
everything.
hard drive and everything too, right?
Yeah, super expensive, and like the only games that were like announced at launch were SOCOM and Final Fantasy. And so I was like, I want to play Final Fantasy 11, and that was such a horrible experience. It almost deterred me from going into 14, but I did start playing 14. I played through a couple free trials, but it was the thing that stopped me and then continuing playing that game was they were charging $15 a month up until maybe it was that 4 year mark, or maybe it was that, I'm not quite sure when they stopped charging that. But I was like, I don't like those subscription types of services where I have to keep on paying to play the game, regardless of where I'm at and what levels I'm at. It's just $15 a month if I'm at, the very beginning of the game or if I'm at the very end of the game. So I know I dropped off personally because for that reason. But it being free to play, is
It,
up
it
to
is no longer free to play.
well, I thought it was free to play up to level 60.
Oh well, for the trial, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Free to
Okay,
play up to level 60 at least.
right.
That's a good incentive for like people for me to jump back in. But very much like this game, when it first came out, it wasn't everywhere. It was on PlayStation 3, and it was I don't even believe it was on PC when it first came out. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I believe it started on PlayStation, then it came to PC, and then it
It
started.
yes, it was like a relaunch on the play on PC and PlayStation. Like the first
Mhm.
1.0 was like a failure, and they relaunched it.
Yeah. And then it came to Xbox, and it came to like all these other places, really branching it out. It came to like Steam and Epic and like all the other Play stores and everything also, which allowed it to really branch out and be, and then it also was cross-platform or cross play and cross-platform. Is to really allow it to branch out. I mean, what I'm trying to say is basically they've done everything right in terms of like really building this community and making it more accessible. And now I believe they're going to do a graphics update, kind of like the WoW update. In addition to all these expansions that they've been doing, which is absolutely, it's just awesome. Yeah, I don't think there's anything been that's been like it since WoW. I know, Guild Wars was a super popular one for a while, and I know not Black Desert, that's the studio. Or no, Black Desert
no,
may be the game.
Black Desert Online
Yeah,
is the one
okay.
you're thinking of.
And I
Well,
know
right
that was
now,
super
Final
popular.
Fantasy is the second most popular MMO.
Yeah, for good reason.
Uh, Yes, the only one that's more popular right now is Lost Ark, and I think that's just because it's new and it just came out.
Yeah,
But
that had a pretty epic rise though.
there are more active players on Final Fantasy than there are on WoW. Which, if you had told me that 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the right time, right? I mean,
I guess
the
people
Activision
might just be
Blizzard.
done with Activision Blizzard. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's very much it. And probably some people are hedging their bets with their subscriptions to see if it goes on Game Pass day one in like a year and a half when they're happy to jump back on board again.
right,
Um,
right, it might.
Yeah.
We don't know. But speaking of Game Pass, we'll transition over to the PlayStation Plus monthly games that they're giving away. We're almost to March, so get your downloads ready, and you want to clear up some space. Here are the games: Team Sonic Racing on the PS4, Ark Survival Evolved on the PS4, Ghost Runner on the PS5, and this month there's a bonus game. That's Ghosts of Tsushima. I'm probably not saying that right. Ghosts of
Yeah,
Tsushima
I got it.
Legends,
Mhm.
which is there's something that's a standalone co-op Ghost of Tsushima game. It's not like the full one.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's not the mainline game. They separated the basically the DLC content, the multiplayer DLC content that they launched after the
Mhm.
game, and it's essentially new armor and things like that. But they have a raid in it, so you can very much like Destiny. Group up with your friends, get all new armor, level up, and do this raid with them, which is like or like the Division, but in feudal Japan.
Yeah, it
Uh,
looks like such a good game.
Yeah.
yeah, if I had a PS5, I might check it out, but I do not. So I will say I would play Team Sonic Racing. That is a fun game if if you need like a Mario Kart kind of game and you don't have a Switch. Sonic is the next best one to get.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pick that up because I see it for sale all the time on the PlayStation Store, and I'm just like, no, I'm good. And even for like, I think it's been like $10, and I'm just like, no, no, no. So I'm glad I didn't pick that up. Ghost of Tsushima is killer. That I still can't believe that's the Legends is going to be available for everyone, and then I'm kind of sad that Ghost Runner is only on PS5. Um, so little sad about that one.
Yeah, Ghost Runner is one that I've had my eye on for a while. Those first person parkour games that came out obviously before Dying Light 2 made its way back onto the scene.
Have
That
you ever played any of the Sonic Racing games?
No, I haven't. No.
I remember playing. I want to say it was Sega Transformed. What was this? The full name of that? It was like Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed. That's what it was, because the cast on that one was crazy. All the different characters you could drive as, because
Mhm.
it had like other other Sega games in there. So that was a lot of fun.
mm,
This one doesn't have that. Um, but the other one had you could drive as Danica Patrick, which was odd.
That is odd. I was about to say
Yes.
tech words coming to my mouth.
And Ralph from Wreck It Ralph, you could also drive as Ralph.
Oh, okay,
So
is
I remember
isn't
that one.
Shenmue guy is
I
in those as
believe,
well?
what's his name? I don't remember his name.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I
I don't
haven't played
remember either.
Shenmue in ages.
I kind of
But
bounced off that game.
I
Yeah.
haven't. The last kart racer I bought was and yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this one, but Mod Nation Racers. Do you guys remember
Nope.
that? It was a
Yes, I
PlayStation.
do. Hmm.
It's a PlayStation exclusive
It was
kart racing
basically
game.
Little Big Planet with cars.
Yeah, but without Little Big Planet. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so yes, it was just a copy of all the kart racers. Yeah, you know what? It's tough to. I think kart racing is like the one of the toughest genres to really, pull people away from the Mario Karts of the world. Uh, yeah, so that's a tough one. Every
Well,
kart racer I feel like
you need the characters to make it work. Otherwise, you just have All Star Candy Racing or whatever the heck that game is.
uh,
That is probably a good game of what I've heard, but nobody cares because the characters or whatever.
mhm.
I
But
don't
that's the
think kart
thing.
racing works without licenses.
Like everyone, like so many of these companies that do have licenses, like are bringing out these kart racing games, and they're still not like performing exceptionally well, they may get a second one, maybe, and then you never see it again.
Well, there's also Crash Racing, Crash Nitro Kart, and all that.
Hmm.
I was waiting for that to come up. I love that game. But
It's one of those
it has,
PlayStation games that has a cult following.
yeah, it has the characters though. Like as
Right.
you said, it's important to have the amount of
Licenses.
characters in there to have it make sense.
Right. And
And if you could put bosses in there, then it works.
yeah, moving from PlayStation PS Plus, I should say, to PS Now, they're going to have a day one release as part of their March offerings, which is a shocker because they don't really do that kind of stuff for PS Now.
But
The big,
I'm going to get in front of you here just a
Mhm.
little bit because I've been very I've been following the game that's going to be announced as that day one for a little while. It's the Shadow Warrior 3, which
Yes,
has been on the development cycle for a little while. It's
it's
yeah, it's
it's
probably been delayed 6 months to a year,
well, it's
I
one of
think.
those games actually. When they made a Shadow Warrior 2, I was like, really? But that
Yes,
was 6 years ago.
this is precisely why I wanted to get in front of it a little bit because I played the first one and it was really funny. Like following this guy who's just shit talking his way through, samurai fighting and guns in a first person kind of environment. It felt really weird and unusual and quite nice. Like it was really interesting to play, and you'd laugh out loud all the time. Then they made a second one, as you said, and I was kind of like, you stretching it a little bit. And looking at any kind of trailer for Shadow Warrior 3, and if you've known the previous games, you'll be like, yeah, I think they're really trying to squeeze blood from a stone there. Because it's very Fortnite-y, the way that it looks.
So you're saying that they're taking the humor part out of it?
I think they're still going to try and make it funny, but I think the gameplay is changing quite a bit, and it's a far throw from what it was intended to be at the original.
I've never played it because I always thought it looked like a generic action game. But generic action game 34, you know?
That's the funny thing. You kind of have to watch a trailer for it to make sense. And I think the main protagonist's name is Lu Wang or something like that. But he
Perfect.
makes jokes all the time, like,
Sure.
"Do you want the Wang?"
Oh god.
Or
So
things like it's
it tries
super
so hard to
inappropriate.
be funny, but it's not funny.
It's funny in the way that a bad movie is funny.
But not every
But
bad movie is funny. It's got to be really
this one
bad.
is.
It's got to be
This
The
one is.
Room bad.
Oh no, it's not the
So
room bad, but it's
I'm
enjoyable. Look, the gameplay is pretty good too. It's the thing that gets you in the door is the humor. That's what I'd say.
I'm thinking kind of like a Yakuza, like maybe not graphically, but like in terms of like humor, or maybe a Saints Row, um,
It's a
possibly.
little less subtle, I think.
I mean, Saints
Um,
Row had giant dildo bats.
it did.
So.
It's probably closer to that, I'd say. But we are getting a little bit further away from the real story here, which is the day one release, alongside all this discussion about Spartacus coming soon from
Reining
PlayStation,
it
right?
in.
Right.
Yep.
So they haven't announced any other new games, but they did say that when Shadow Warrior 3 launches March 1st, it'll be part of PS Now. So this is like their
Mhm.
first big strike at Game Pass day one releases, and it's like, couldn't you pick something better, guys? Really?
Yeah.
It's a pretty weak offering. Nobody's going to be like, well, I guess I'm going to sign up now. I just don't see that really moving the needle.
And for me, like I definitely thought about that same thing. I was just like, okay, like what's PlayStation doing? But I think when doing this, the news is out there. Like it's getting the exposure. It gets people thinking and talking about PlayStation Now, and I think that's just as important as bringing the offering. So maybe this is their first thing, and then as they continue to build that library, and when they actually announce it later this year, or in a year, or whenever they do announce it, a year or two from now, when they build that library, they'll be able to say like, hey, this is PlayStation Now plus Game Pass exposure, whatever it's called, and really be able to, and really be able to sell it. But you have to start somewhere, and you know, yeah, I don't think you're gonna put a God of War necessarily out there as your first one.
No, but I mean, Shadow Warrior, Xbox has put a lot out there, a lot of indie games day one on there. So you've had that experience to put them out there, and I'm sure they love the initial feedback. They've had a Planet Coaster when it came out was a day one Xbox Game Pass release. That's a huge deal. That was a pretty big game. It's way bigger than Shadow Warrior, that's for sure. And you say humor. Before I move on to the next topic, did you ever play Bulletstorm?
I had a crack at it. I feel like that had the same kind of humor. It felt like Jack Black from
If it has that
Brutal
same
Legend.
kind of humor, I might like it because I really did like Bulletstorm, and I think it was really underrated.
But that's a Duke Nukem style humor, isn't it?
Yes,
I'd say it's similar, but I don't know. I kind of worry
not
about
as misogynistic.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of worry about Asian humor in like this day and age and what's going on, like everything right now.
Look, that's
with,
what I
like,
mean by bad movie bad. I think
Yeah.
it crosses the line, but it's so far over,
it's
whilst not being super inappropriate, that
Mhm.
it's kind of laughable. But look, you're right. It was a game that came out in like, what, 2014, 2015.
Well, the
And
original came out like a long time ago
yeah, that's completely different than what it is now, I think.
because it came
But
out in 97.
yeah,
And
it
then
was
they
in
decided
arcade
to
cabinets.
reboot that because there aren't 100 other games more worthy of a reboot.
Quick
Yeah.
question:
Mhm.
Can you guys think of any other games that like maybe started out like one way and then like really diverged, like with the sequels and other games of that nature?
Fortnite.
So you
Yeah,
said it earlier. Saints Row was like
yeah.
super serious, and then turned into like
Humor. Yeah,
just such a ridiculous game series. And I think they're kind of like, all right, we got a little too far from where we wanted to. But it
yeah,
was like
it's
it
true.
was supposed to be like another
Mm.
Grand Theft Auto, and then it
Yeah.
became like Grand Theft Auto potty humor.
Yeah, it was very much like straight out of Compton type of like the first game was like all about gangs and turf wars and things like that. And then yeah, totally went a completely different direction. Yeah.
Those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head. I'd have to do some research on that, but yeah, those are the only two I can think of. Um, that like just
Mm.
totally became what it wasn't originally was. Moving on from the PlayStation freebies to the Xbox freebies, the new games with gold were announced for March 2022, and they are once again underwhelming, to say the least. I don't have another word other than underwhelming because they at this point I don't really think that they care. Most of the stuff is being pushed to Game Pass. So the games that you're going to get with gold that you have forever as long as you have a gold subscription, that they're not really putting out the A games, the A plus plus games that you might have gotten in the past. You've got for the Xbox One or Series X or whatever you've got, the Flame in the Flood and Street Power Soccer. And then the two Xbox 360 games, you've got Sacred 2 and SpongeBob Truth or Square.
Which is a classic.
None of these games are any sort of.
You don't want to play SpongeBob with the kids?
He doesn't like SpongeBob.
Oh, okay. Mine does, but that's because when he was younger, I used to play the intro song just
Oh, well,
because. Yeah, just
if
because.
you go back and you look at like the last year or so, there really hasn't been anything that's like, yep, I need that.
Yeah, Games with Gold hasn't really been there, but yeah, like you said, it's all about Game Pass. And
But at
that's
the same
where
time, Game Pass has taken a bit of a break over the last few months as well. There's nothing huge that's been released after like an action-packed 6 months at the end of 2021.
yeah,
It's
agreed.
post Halo Infinite coming out. There hasn't been a
No,
huge
well,
amount coming to Game
no.
Pass.
February was kind of dry, but February, I mean, there's bigger games coming out, so I think that they don't really need to push other games. I'm trying to think.
Mm.
There's something came out in January that was kind of big.
Really?
I might be thinking off the top of my head that wasn't right, but um, it's so hard to remember what came out.
It's because there's so many things coming out all the time.
I know.
Um,
You might be right. It might have been a while, but these games like Street Power Soccer, I'm sure it's an okay game. Maybe I don't know.
It's something
Did
to play, and I think that's
right?
the most important part. Is like they keep on giving you games to play,
Did you
whether
ever
the quality.
play? I want to say Sega Power Soccer or something.
No,
Sega Soccer Slam. That's what it was. Did you ever play that? No.
No.
That came out like 20 years ago on all three consoles, but
Do
it
I?
was awesome. It
Is
was
it in?
really good. I'm
Is
not a
it
big
in?
soccer fan, but it was fun as heck.
Is it in any of the Genesis collections or anything? Because I have like 5 Genesis collections, like on every system.
Um,
So I'm sure,
I
I'm
don't,
sure I can
I
play it.
don't think so. I don't think it's on anything because it.
Okay, so I have to break out
You
my
guys are
set.
going full retro this week.
Well,
I'm
I mean, that's
not
just dating
retro enough,
myself
I
here
think.
with all these things are just rehashing things in my head from 20 years ago. We can go. I can
Yeah.
go even further back if you want.
No. It's fine. This is far enough. I'm
I
good.
think he was saying the opposite. Yeah.
I still think that
Yeah.
that's a better game than Street Power Soccer. That's what I'm getting at. People
Uh,
like the SpongeBob games, Sacred 2. I'm sure somebody will play these games.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They're free.
It's just not really that great.
yeah.
Doesn't surprise it doesn't get my juices flowing.
Whenever I'm scrolling through my Xbox dashboard, and my son points to something, he's like, that right there, then I have to jump in, and I'm just like, okay, and then I'll jump in for like 15, 20 minutes, and he sits there and watches me, and I'm playing games, so I guess I can't complain too much, but it's never what I want to be playing.
I know I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. All right.
Look at us
The
complaining about playing video games.
I know, but sometimes you got to play a game that you really don't want to play because the kid wants to play it.
Yeah, and that's the only way you're going to get any
Captain
game time.
Right.
Mm.
Guardians of the Galaxy sales were disappointing, at least according to Square Enix, or Squeenix as we're calling them. The game had high-ish praise, like an 80 out of 100 or so around on the Metacritic rankings. But did it really not sell that well? I'm not buying that argument
Look, this is common
because
from them, right?
this is
They
very
did the same
common from
thing
them.
with Tomb Raider.
The Tomb Raider was one of the most highest selling Tomb Raider games of all time, and it disappointed.
Yeah, they've got a habit of doing that. And it's all about earnings calls and trying to probably keep people on their toes.
Yeah,
It's hard to even find like official sales numbers for this game, but it had to have sold at least 2 million. I'm thinking.
well, you got to look at the wording. They said initially, like it in the big, like so in the beginning, it didn't really sell well. In the particular article, it talks about like discounted versions and things like that. So the article is a little bit misleading, but yeah, I mean, it said it sold better over time with like all the different initiatives and discounts and things like that. So that's something to look forward to. But I think what Square Enix was thinking was this is like a well-known franchise, so it's going to sell gangbusters like a Spider-Man and things like that. Which it's the cachet is there for like the actual title of the game and the knowing the characters, but the gameplay has to be there also, and it really has to speak to a lot of people. And I think that Mass Effect style type of game, I think it does speak to a lot of different people. I mean, I beat the game myself. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of talking and things of that nature, but I knew the characters better from this game than I did ever from the movies, watching the movies. And that says a lot about the gameplay. But yeah, I mean, Square Enix is, I don't know. They haven't been doing exceptionally well with their games. A lot of people might have had a bad taste in their mouth from Avengers also.
Right,
Um,
and that's what I was waiting to touch on was the
yeah.
Avengers. A lot of people did not like that game, even though it sold pretty well, because of all the microtransactions.
Yeah. It was I bounced off that hard when I tried to give it a go in the lead up to Guardians and stuff.
But
But
they didn't hype this game. They really didn't. They kind of leaked that they were working on it for a couple of years ago, but they never officially announced anything until E3 last year. And they were like, "Oh, it's coming out this year." So the hype, why now?
but the trailers and the teasers and stuff were weird too. I think a lot of people have noted that the feel of the gameplay in the trailer they did, I think it was at E3, just it
Yep.
didn't feel like it was what people wanted. But then they played the game and it was completely different than what they thought it was going to be, which could be lending towards that initial
It also
trending
screams
down.
to me that it was trying to be a tie-in to a movie, but Guardians 3
Mm,
kind of got pushed back all those years ago because of the whole James Gunn controversy. So now it's not coming
Yeah.
out for a couple more years. So they had to, they were going to sit on it for a couple years. They had to kind of release it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I think just had that bad taste from the Avengers game. It's okay. It's okay. But the Guardians characters, no matter how much known they are because of the movies, it's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also shows us that having that Marvel, backing, like saying these are Marvel characters, this is a game that's going to do well. This is the second case of it, not doing as well as they would have hoped.
But also, this is a game that's screaming for co-op. It's four. What is it? Five of them that are in the. They're all five of them are in there, right? And not that you could probably play as Groot in
And
a
that was one of the
multiplayer
issues.
game.
That was one of the issues that people had with this game. They're like, wait, I can't play like all these other characters. I can only play like the worst character at all these characters, Peter Quill, like the human. I don't want to be the human. I want to be a Drax, or I want to be a Rocket Raccoon, or I want to be a Groot. People would have died to have been Groot. And I think that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, along with the character models. I know there was a lot of talk about just doesn't look like the Guardians of the Galaxy that I know or that I want and things like that, which the character models were fine. I think Peter's character model is actually the one that only bothered me. And then as you start to get the different outfits and uniforms in the game, like they have some killer outfits that really just jack up the characters, like, and make them look incredible. But yeah, like once again, they did Avengers and they had where you can be all these different characters within the game. And the developer that Square Enix, matched up to do Avengers. I believe it was the same one that does
Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamics. Thank you so much. That's the second time you helped me with Crystal Dynamics. I don't know if you remember last time. Thank you. But yeah, like when they matched them up with Crystal Dynamics, they were not suited to do a co-op game. And with this Guardians of the Galaxy, Square Enix made the decision for this not to be co-op, and I think that was for the better of the game. I really realistically do, but I really feel like it left a bad taste in people's mouth because they wanted to play as these other characters, and it would have been the same for Avengers game. If they said it was only one character, people would have been up in arms also, because they would have been like, I want to be Thor and I want to be Hulk, and
right. They could have there could have been a better singular character to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Captain America, Thor.
They had the Thor stories game there. Yeah, if they would have like told it from a different character's point of view and just like, and then kind of expressed how they look at like the Guardians or how they look at the Avengers, I think that would have been a very unique and cool angle. Rather than doing like the main character that we already know their story based on the Marvel movies or the comics and things of that nature, where the storyline didn't change that much.
But it did get best narrative.
Yes, it did.
It did get best narrative at the Game Awards, and it was nominated for a few other ones as well. So I feel like it hasn't been completely lost on people that it's a good game. We're just talking about sales numbers.
They're talking about the sales numbers, but also historically speaking, you drop a game in October when it comes to Black Friday season, people expect it to be on sale. So you've already essentially hurt your sales by putting it out then, because you're not going to get that initial $60 price for more than a week or two. And the prices drop so fast now because they're trying to get quick sales from people. And I think that really hurt the overall maybe gross of the game, and that's why they're disappointed. But
there's $35 for Black Friday. Yeah. That was like a week or two later.
You're costing tons of money just by doing that. A lot of studios make that mistake. And there's a lot of people who's like, I can wait a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Moving on, I don't know how many people are hyped for this game, but Street Fighter 6 was announced a couple days ago, and they had a timer on the website, and everybody was like, what's the timer for? What's the timer for? When it finally ran down, it was a Street Fighter 6 video for, like 40 seconds long, and it's basically just super beefy Ryu and sweaty and his giant feet for whatever reason. Yeah, there, see?
Nice wet
what
toes.
Is with the feet?
Look,
they
I think they're taking
an awful long time on the feet there.
They're taking a lot of tips out of movies, I think, with everything. Like I noticed this with Horizon Forbidden West as well. A lot of things look wet to make them look better. I think they're just leaning into that here. everything's bigger, everything's wetter than it was previously.
It's like when you remember,
Just
if you ever
big
watched
moisture.
wrestling in the old days, and the guys would come
Oh,
out, and
all greased up.
they were just so greasy. They want that big,
Ugh.
muscly, greasy look, and it just looks weird.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
jump on Twitter, or if you jump on like Twitter right now, or just search Street Fighter 6, the memes are insane, and they're all just showing like these crazy jacked Ryu's head is this tiny, is so small, and then it's like all body, and everyone's having so much fun with this right now, which I'm sure Capcom isn't very happy about.
Yeah, but you know
But
what? Publicity is publicity,
yeah,
and they brought it. They like, did you test this video? You know, like you knew somebody was going to be like, all right, it's kind of like ridiculous, right? Like, especially the part where they spend like 5 solid seconds on his foot.
Yeah. Look, it's a teaser, right? Teasing. And there's probably a subsection of Street Fighter fans that would just be mad about that foot shot.
I don't know.
So,
I missed the 2D. I really think that if they went hard on the 2D look, that would be great. Like a super high def 4K 2D hand drawn would be awesome to me. That's just me.
but how would you make it
Like a
wet?
Guilty Gear. I don't know how you'd make them wet. Who cares? I don't want them to be wet. It's so weird. It's like when you see the guys sweat in NBA. It's like it's so off put. It looks so fake.
yeah, I mean, Arc System Works is for hire. I mean, they did a Grand Chase game, they do Guilty Gear, they did Dragon Balls. I would love if they did a Street Fighter game. I think that would be they are the echelon of developers that make fighting games. So if they made a Street Fighter game, I mean they do netcode and things like that. So it's they just do they're used to the fighting game realm. They're the ones making like all the fighting games right now that are like top tier and in like Evo and things like that nature. So yeah, I mean, let Arc System Works do Street Fighter. That'd be awesome. But I know Capcom would
Give
never
them a
let that
budget.
happen. Yep.
Make it 2D, gorgeous hand drawn visuals, and it will look like nothing else out there. That's my thing. Like, make it look like nothing else is out there.
But look, you guys wax lyrical on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that's coming out soon. Surely you wouldn't want a 2D Street Fighter out before that one.
Well, I mean, that's a brawler, and I mean, this is a fighting game. I mean,
Could you imagine if they made a Turtles in the trailer in the same sense of where that's what I need right now? I didn't know I needed it until right now. I need a Turtles trailer parodying the Street Fighter trailer. Sweaty, giant feet. I want it to be exactly
I love the turtle
trailer.
feet, though.
I want it to be exactly like this trailer, but with turtles. That's it's like it's begging for that kind of like parody right here. Just before that game comes out. That would be great.
I'm glad I wasn't too far off the mark suggesting something like that.
I do like some turtles, and there was some controversy other than the sweaty feet and sweatiness of this, and that they stole or they used a generic stock image for their logo. A lot of people noticed that it came out. The Street Fighter 6 logo looks almost identical to an Adobe stock image.
Let's see if we can find it. There we go.
And you're talking about a company like Capcom, who's really known for very great looking logos. To go from Street Fighter 3, 4, and 5 to this super generic SF6, it's kind of, I don't know.
It's a far throw from the inking calligraphy kind of motif throughout it all, right? That's what it was through those ones.
Right. Yeah. It just had like a big splashy Street Fighter look to it. This is just it's like so minimalistic in its design. I don't know if it probably will change, but just that's the logo that they went with at first. It's kind of it's kind of like, why? What is this?
Well, it has to change because the person that did the stock image is like they said they'll sell it to them. They'll sell it to Capcom, but I think they said they'll sell it for like $500K. And I know Capcom's not going to want to shell out any money to use this $80 image because you can buy it off of Photoshop for $80. So
yeah, if I suppose they can't really. It's a little bit different. Like I've done the comparison between the Adobe image and that one, and there are slight differences. So maybe he could leverage the 500K because they're changing the image to a degree and using it for commercial distribution, which they probably wouldn't be allowed to do in the terms of service using those stock images.
It screams to me like they forgot to do it until the last minute, and they were like, just find something out there and change
Yeah.
it a little bit.
It's
That's
the
what
Sonic
it screams to
movie
me.
of video games where the planet cries out and all of a sudden it changes in a couple of months.
Right.
But
Spe-
I
I,
the better part of that announcement was the Capcom Fighting Collection. We know we talked about that last week, but yeah, that was actually the highlight for me of
oh
that
yeah,
Street Fighter
that
announcement.
looks awesome, and I'm hoping, I doubt it will come to Game Pass, but if it goes on sale, I might buy it just to have all those games in one thing.
I've been asking for a Darkstalkers game for at least 15 20 years. So if I can support that game and then they bring back like Darkstalkers and maybe like a Darkstalkers Killer Instinct crossover, like there's something like incredible like that, like
Oh
I
look,
would
I would just
be
love more Super Puzzle Fighter 2 people to play with online.
yeah, I'd be
I love
down.
me some Super Puzzle Fighter.
I love Super Puzzle Fighter too, but they should take fighter out of the name, but that's cool.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
always wondered about it. I didn't.
If you haven't
Yeah.
played Super Puzzle Fighter, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I recommend it. Moving on to the Steam Deck. Ooh. Came out. Well, not came out, but it's out. It's out in the wild. People have been actually using it and playing it. As far as it's out, it's going to be a while. If you want to buy one today, you're not going to get it in a week. But the first impressions are out there, and there's been quite a different, different sides of the spectrum. They all agree that it's going to change PC gaming, but some people are, it's great right now. Some people are like, it's going to be great, but we have to wait. That's pretty much the consensus is there. It's great, but some people are like, it still needs a lot of help.
Yeah. And this is going to be, as it travels the line between being a console, which it isn't, like it's the people who enjoy it the most are calling it a portable PC, which is what I would call it as well. But it's all of the little things that come out in playing the games across the platform too, which they very much unlocked. They've got tons of games they're releasing with this new platform, and there's frame rate issues and weird button customization selections and things like that.
Well, I did like that you can upload so somebody can upload like their button customizations and you can download it and see what everybody else is using. Like that was really cool. I did like that part of it.
Yeah.
It to me, it just screams like it's underpowered. That's just me. I don't know. I'm not the market for this. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's actually incredibly powerful for the device that it is. Like
But the games that I would want to play on the PC are usually ones that push the graphics of the system.
Yeah, but I mean that's true. I mean, but that's why it's a PC game. I mean, while this is considered a portable PC, this is that powerful device that is mobile. And I think that's where the biggest thing is. It's powerful and it has a ton of accessibility options. It's at a $399 beginning price point. So I mean, it's cheaper than your average laptop unless you're getting like a Chromebook or something. And Chromebooks are, most Chromebooks aren't going to be able to power these games, even like the Steam Deck does.
But you could play Stadia or Amazon Luna on those.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could
on a
do with
Chromebook.
them.
You could, yeah.
There's a lot of things you could do, but do you want to? And I think
I'm just saying like, that option is out there. It's like, by the time most people are going to get a Steam Deck, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, it is going to be a while at this point. But I mean, they're going to ramp manufacturing up. A lot of people that reserved one aren't going to buy or aren't going to go through with actually purchasing them for one reason or another. So that's going to allow people that actually want the device to get the device. But I mean, I think this device is amazing. I mean, this is everything. I'm going to make the comparison that I wanted from Nintendo in terms of a handheld system. This is the power that I want. The screen looks excellent. The button mapping is there. There's so many different types of controls. You have the touchpad. You have the gyrometer. I don't know why I can't pronounce that.
Accelerometer?
Well, it has the gyrometer and the accelerometer. It has both.
Oh,
It also has
fancy.
the touch screen. You have actual good joysticks on this, and then you have, of course, your buttons and your D-pad along with your analog sticks. I mean, it just has everything you need in order to game. And it's really going to just come to Valve updating the system. The system's going to inherently get better over time, just through updates and patches and things like that. And Valve has acknowledged that. But
And Valve will push it. They do it. They still support stuff. They haven't put out new things in years, like their controllers.
Yeah, they're still putting updates out for that. Exactly. And in very much in the interviews that they've talked about, they're going to support this, and they really feel like this is a new platform in the genre of platforms. And I'm excited for it. I'm probably not going to get one this generation, but coming into the next generation of the Steam Decks, I will be probably first in line, or I might jump in this generation once kind of, the manufacturing's all sorted out and everything like that.
I need to be able to see how it feels before I jump in, I think.
You can borrow mine when I get it.
Oh, right. Hold on, I'll just drive on down there. It's one of those things that's screaming to me, like, I need to see how it feels in my hand before I play it. That's just me. I've done it with almost every console that I bought. Switch, I mean, Xbox, but the controller doesn't really change that much. But I need to see how it feels to me. And that's just a personal thing. The kind of PC games I would want to play maybe aren't the best for that kind of little screen. So the fact that it does have an output is preferable to me. But for me, I have a Series X, so those heavy graphics games aren't really going to be something I would need a Steam Deck for.
And that's the thing about the screen, like having the size of the screen. I forget what it is. It's like 1280 by something.
It's a 720p resolution anyway.
Yeah, 720p, but 1280 by 800 screen. I mean, just with it being compressed, you're going to get overall better visuals and things like that. And then you could always tweak the graphics and performance settings in order to, best suit the console, which is absolutely incredible. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that with any other handheld, except the Ayano.
That's what's going to set it apart, is the fact that everybody that has a Steam Deck has the same Steam Deck. So they'll be able to program and target that for a large audience rather than dealing with the compatibilities of 7,000 different computer configurations out there.
But they're doing a lot of great stuff alongside the Steam Deck. I think if you had a bingo card of the right things to say in the games industry, then Valve is saying all those things at the moment. Like a lot of little things that have come out, like they're open to talking to Microsoft about getting Game Pass being available on there. I saw a YouTube video of someone successfully getting the Epic Game Store installed on there with games being available that way.
Have there been any emulator videos yet?
I don't think they can talk about that, but
that's what I think a lot of people are waiting for.
Have you?
RetroArch, and I think he was playing Metroid Prime, actually, the one that I saw.
That's going to be a game changer, because the controls on that are pretty similar to, aside from Nintendo 64, the controls are going to be pretty okay for anything out there. And then the customization could really be a game changer for emulation in total.
Look, this is a Linux portable PC. Valve has absolutely no talked about being in control of it at any point once it's in the customer's hands. That was another thing they did. They've already talked to iFixit about getting parts out there so people can replace them themselves, which is the whole right to repair thing. Get your bingo card. That's another tick.
Right. Mm-hmm. The only thing that they said, though, is that I believe the battery is really hard to replace.
Yeah. And they had a video explaining all the bits that they don't want you to do as well.
It's not like you can't just have an external battery pack.
Yeah,
like a mount for it, So,
they are going to release a dock soon that, they'll stick it into, and you can plug your mouse and keyboard and all that stuff in. It might work with other USB-C docks currently too. It's hard to say.
Would it work with a Switch dock? Oh, no, probably not.
No.
God, trying to jam that thing in, you'd be like bashing it open, and all of a sudden that clamshell is like really
and then final news story of the week is something that just popped up this morning, is that there's going to be a brand new main series Pokemon game coming out late 2022 after Sword and Shield, which came out in 2019. The new one, the new two, I should say, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, are going to be the titles that will be available this year.
So is
So
Arceus not a
it's not a main series Pokemon game.
okay?
They're very
I had no idea.
particular about their mainline Pokemon games.
This one is about catching the Pokemon, not time travel and sprinting around having Pokemon fight each other.
It's pretty much probably the same Pokemon it's always been.
Right.
I'm not a Pokemon person. I never have been. Is this a
Well,
Pokemon video? What are we watching?
Yeah,
here?
this is a Pokemon video, but they have 3 new starters, and I think that's always the most exciting part.
One
When
of them looks
starting.
like Donald Duck.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He's probably like definitely like a water Pokemon of the group. But now like every starter Pokemon has a cross between what they are. So they're like a Pokemon, or I mean, it's like an ice rock or a water grass, or they're all confusing now. But yeah, I don't know. This is another Pokemon announcement. I think this is cool. I would be down if I still played Pokemon. Too many other games to play, but
Still, I mean, like 24 million copies of Sword and Shield have been sold. So
oh yeah,
there's still a huge market for main series Pokemon games.
yeah. I mean, pretty much if you own a Switch, I mean, like at least 1/3 of the market of people that own a Switch are playing Pokemon games, and that's why you have a Switch. For these particular type of games. Yeah, this is awesome. I was very surprised at the announcement. I know there was a whole bunch of other announcements.
Yeah, there's a whole
Um,
bunch of Pokemon Day stuff coming.
yeah, Pokemon Go and stuff like that.
Is there going to be? Did they announce anything Pokemon Snap related? I haven't seen
Ooh,
anything because my wife is like, I've pretty much played as much as I can of Snap. She's a huge fan of Snap on the Switch. It's a fun game, but I'm not into this. Just too much. There's too many Pokemons to memorize.
that's why you
Yep.
don't memorize them anymore. That
This
was
is
very much
I still know like the original Pokemons. Okay, like
Mhm.
the original ones that were on the series. Like those ones are still the ones that like the ones that I know in my head.
Yep.
Your Charizards, Pikachu's, Bulbasaurs, Squirtles of the world.
Yeah, I'm surprised how many of those I still know. Like that was me. That was me in middle school. I was very much memorizing Pokemon. Like every episode, at the end of the episode, I was like spouting them off and trying to,
Yeah,
get
we do the
everyone.
poker rap. Get the poker rap going.
Yeah, the Poker Rap. Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys want to do
there's
a
over
version of that?
900 now.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a long
that's a
rap.
lot of
It
Pokemon.
just
Yeah,
seems like a lot.
no one's memorizing all of those.
You'd be
Um,
surprised. I bet you there's somebody out there
there's no Snap news that they announced with their
yet,
yeah.
but there is a Pokemon. Uh, is there a Pokemon like day coming up? That's today. Pokemon
Yeah,
Day.
yeah. There's a
27th of Feb.
yeah.
It
Although
was
it's
going to be.
past the 27th of February now in
Mm,
Japan. So
Yeah.
yeah.
but it's not
So let me
tapped in.
see. They did. Let's see. There's a Daybreak update. That's the big one. Pokemon Go, which a lot of people still play.
Mm-hmm.
Just
That
a
Pokemon
was
lot
one
of
where
Unmasked
a lot of
Yesterday.
stuff.
they had to change the way that Pokemon Go is played during the pandemic and lockdowns, right?
Yeah, it pissed
'Cause-
a
Yeah,
lot of people off.
when they went back because it was great for a while. A lot of people started playing it again, and then they went back to like, all right, you got to get out. And people were like, well, this is great. Like, don't ruin it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't change the game for me. I like being at home.
All
I
right,
get to play
so
on my couch.
yeah,
Yeah.
moving on to the main topic of the week is Elden Ring. Elden Ring is one of the best reviewed games in modern history.
Mm-hmm.
Currently
It's doing
sitting
very well.
at a 97 on Metacritic, I believe, unless it's changed. No, it's still a 97. I
Yep.
can't
I think
remember anything else that's had such a response like Elden Ring.
it's pretty ridiculous. I think you'd be far flung to find anyone that's not having a good time with it if they've got if they've had a review copy and managed to get 90 hours or whatever it is.
But also in the same breath, I don't think that this is a game for everybody.
No,
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 it's
it's not
tricking
good.
people, I think, a little bit. Uh, it's it's really got to be your jam, but it is different. It's a lot more accessible. I shouldn't say accessible actually, because the accessibility is purported to be terrible. It is a lot more. It's easier to capture people than the Dark Souls series was.
You know,
Was
I think a lot of people are getting accessibility confused with like easy, medium, or easy, normal, and hard modes. Though, I think there's people are very much, not understanding those differences. Like, because I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn right now, and we'll get into a little more about that later. But the accessibility options that they have in that game are very much like The Last of Us, very much like Forza, and they even go beyond that. There's a couple options that aren't available in those games, and you're very much able to go into the option settings and go change like all the settings to make it more accessible, or change the just the different abilities that you're able to do with the game, and the HUDs and things of that, the color settings, and for people that are colorblind, and all these different things. And a lot of the conversation I hear about Elden Ring is in terms of accessibility is like not necessarily all these options, but I'm hearing that they should make the game easier because people don't necessarily want to play through those hard moments. They just want to get the story. But that's not what this type of game is. This game is very much about the risk reward, and getting good. I'm sorry to say it, people. It's about getting good and
Get
being able
good.
to challenge these bosses and learn from your mistakes. And that's the satisfaction that you get from this. And it's very much the same as Returnal, and it just so many other games that are doing this now, to where they're not necessarily providing you with a way to just do a story mode, or whatever version of that easy mode is, whatever that's called. Metroid Prime just recently did a rookie mode and stuff like that, which is great. It's great to have. It makes it so people can get through the game. You could probably sell more copies like that, but that's not what
From software.
from Soft, yeah, is that's not what their goal is
No,
with this
they
game.
don't
Yeah.
care. They're gonna make them as hard as they want. I get it. Okay, so the people who are saying that are people like me. I don't have a lot of time to sit down and play and get better at a game like I used
Yeah.
to. For a multiplayer game, you can pick up and play a couple rounds. It's easy.
Mhm.
For a single player game like this, where you repeatedly die and don't really advance, you might have played for an hour and made such little progress for a game that takes 90 hours to beat. So that satisfaction of furthering yourself in the game isn't there.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
people were saying it's still a Souls game, which for me is something that is not really in my wheelhouse.
So that part of the discussion is becoming clear among people who aren't Souls players, that have been told, like in a sentence or two from Elden Ring reviewers, that if you don't like Souls games, you'll still like this. And I think people get surprised by the Dark Souls-y nature of it. But it is incredibly different from the original Dark Souls stuff, mainly because of the component that you can just walk away from what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like if there's a boss that you can't beat, or if you get, your ass handed to you within 5 seconds of encountering a boss, you can just run to a different part of the map and do something completely different. That was not a luxury that you have in Dark Souls games, because they're not linear necessarily, but each environment tends to be quite narrow. So if you encounter a boss you can't beat, you can't progress. But with this, you can run away in that open world, find something else to do, come back, and then beat that boss when you got time.
But I haven't played, or I haven't really played. But do you increase your level? Like, does it become easier? Do you become more powerful
You
over
can.
time,
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you level up, this is where the
or
Dark
does it
Souls of
still
things
like get
emerges.
harder?
No, it
Well,
doesn't scale,
Oh,
the
what
which is
enemies
awesome.
don't scale. This
Yeah.
is part of that whole easy to hard discussion. It's a game that doesn't have a difficulty level attached to it, and the enemies don't scale, which means the easy areas get easier and the harder areas get easier the more you play. But it's full RPG kind of stat management kind of thing, where you pick a class. There's a series of different stats that you're able to increase, like dexterity, intelligence, faith, strength, things like that. They all contribute in different ways to the way your character gets better. And as you defeat things, you get, I think it's called grace in this, as opposed to souls or blood shards.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, that you collect those, spend them, you increase your level, and that's how you improve. And you collect weapons and items, and that's the other part of this that's a lot different from Dark Souls. There's like a massive inventory system of management with it that means that you can create a bunch of different items, even imbue weapons with different kinds of stats than they originally had. There's
Now,
so much that you can do here.
have you actually played it, or you're just going off of what you've watched?
I'm going off what I've watched and from the
Okay,
reviews that I've heard. Yeah.
Because I'm playing, and I'll get to that later. But the game I'm currently playing, the inventory management screen just seems a little much, and like it can be daunting if you're not doing if you need like spreadsheets and stuff to play these games to figure out what's best, and it's hard for somebody who's not going to get too involved in a game. I just want to be able to enjoy the story and go through it. And for people out there, Souls is not your game.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
because you will need a dictionary. Like there's I think one of the first items you get is like a withered finger, and it's not really clear what it does, and it has a weird description. It doesn't really tell you anything. So
yeah, this is a
that's
game
another Dark Souls bit.
about discovery, and even for the story, like the story isn't mapped out for you. You're very much going to be talking to characters, and those characters may tell you something, and you may not realize what they're telling you or what they're speaking of until hours into the game. And this is me. I haven't played the game either. I'm going to pick it up after I beat Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a promise I made to myself because there's just too many games right now. But yeah, this is very much a game about discovery, and that's one of the great parts. Like Matt was very much speaking to earlier. You can walk away from those battles, and there's multiple routes to the same bosses or to the same areas and dungeons. And like he said, this is not a linear game whatsoever. And there's and this is from what I've read and this is from what I watched, but there's different ways to power up your character without even ever fighting a boss. And that's going to be like Matt said, imbuing like weapons. You can collect souls, or not souls. You can have spirits. You can have spirits assist you, and even more so, what they've leaned into more than other Souls games is the co-op. And I don't think that's been talked about enough, because the co-op very much you can play with your friends. Not throughout the entire game, because you actually, if you go into a dungeon or a separate area or a boss battle or something to that degree, the person has to load back into the area, and then they have to travel from wherever they loaded from. So it's a whole kind of thing. But despite the point, you can play those bosses with friends. You can play those hard areas with friends, and reportedly, it makes the game significantly more manageable for people that aren't necessarily into Souls games, which FromSoft has never done before. They really haven't leaned into that before, and I'm just looking forward to this game. I'm like, this is what I didn't like about the old Souls games, was that linear nature. That I go the direction I'm supposed to go. I get to a boss, I get piled and destroyed 50 million times until I get good, and then I finally get through. Them, and I'm like, yes. And then the same thing happens at the next boss. The fact that this is open world and I'm going to be able to travel wherever I want, and if I can't get past something, that means maybe I'm not supposed to be in that area yet. And I can go back, I can explore, become more powerful, and have that RPG aspect of power leveling, to where I get to where I get to a place, and I'll either be strong enough or I won't be strong enough, and I can leave and come back. And I just love that I love that aspect, and that's what I love about RPGs in general.
So you sound really excited for it.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'm excited about gaming this year. I've
never played a Souls. I've never played an actual Soulsborne game. Okay.
Yeah.
They've always been like a PlayStation heavy series. I don't really do too much gaming on my PlayStation. I know it's on Xbox. I haven't really played any of them. I played Souls-like games.
Hmm.
So
Mm,
your the Jedi, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, God of War, the 2018 God of War are Souls-like games. I just don't like that. I'm not a big fan of the parry style of fighting.
yeah.
I probably won't pick this up until it comes to Game Pass, which it probably won't.
No.
But I don't really have any incentive to pick up this game. For me, it doesn't scream like it's something I need to play, regardless of the fact that it's one of the highest scoring games in history, along
Mm,
with Grand Theft Auto 5, Breath of the Wild, which I also didn't really care for, Metroid Prime,
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, Mario Odyssey, which I loved. But Breath of the Wild is the same. It's open world, but it's a very directionless open world game, and that you really don't give you a lot to go with. And I'm like, I don't have time to just explore this whole world. Like, I want to get in, get out, and be on my way.
Mhm.
That's the kind of
Yeah.
games I like.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
that's
Generally,
totally fine. That's
think it will be revealed over time. Like it's going to come on balance with the player base that it's going to sit with best, right? Because we've got reviewers who have been had hold of the game for like a couple of weeks and spent all their time with it, and they're enamored with it. So there's tens dropping all over the place. Gets into the hands of the public. It's a broader audience, people who aren't invested in games necessarily, from not having much time to be able to do it to uh, having the time but bouncing off Souls games because of the difficulty, or because they don't have the wherewithal to beat their head against a brick wall for 6 hours like some of us do.
I
And
don't
as
mind hard games though.
no, hard games are rewarding. The challenge is good. Like I'm all about a good hard game. I love a good Dark Souls game. But I think over time, maybe in a month or so, we're going to have a much clearer view and direction without touching the game exactly who this is going to be for and who's going to get the most out of it. Just
yeah,
because it is a bit biased at the moment. Like the whole co op thing, there would have been no online servers available for reviewers to be able to do co-op together. So there's no review that talks about it in depth as a function that can assist people in a great way. It'll be up to for players to explore to make that an option. So it's going to take time, I think. Maybe if in a few more weeks we're going to have a
And
better idea if you want to tackle it or not.
I don't doubt that it's a good game. I don't doubt it at all. The technical, the graphic, I'm sure everything is there, but in a way that a an album might be great, or a film might be great, and you just don't like it because it doesn't suit you. This is that game for me.
and then
Well, I would equate it to the Suicide Squad remake, right? No, not Suicide Squad. Justice League, the
yeah,
Snyder Cut.
the night Gotham Knights.
No, you're talking the movie, the Snyder Cut.
The, the Snyder
Oh,
Cut.
the Snyder Cut.
Yeah,
Okay.
not video games anymore. Like 4.5 hours of a movie you've already watched in 4:3. It's very specific. That was
I didn't like the
what I would have
original that
liked.
much. I was going to say the Suicide Squad. I love the Suicide Squad, but
Yeah,
no, I
sorry,
get it.
spoke
And
there.
like these kind of games, like I know what I like. I played games for 30 something years. I know what I like. Every once in a while, something will come up and surprise me. I probably will not invest my time. That's not to say that I think it's a bad game. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. It's just not
Yep.
for me.
and I'm glad you realized that because we have other people on the podcast that don't know what type of games they like, but the marketing works on them. The 97s are dropped, and 10 out of 10s are dropped, and 5 out of 5s are dropped, and then they tell us they're not going to buy the game, and then they go in and then they go buy the game, and it's like,
You know
what?
who you are.
Yeah, you know who you. Do I even have to say a name?
And look, I feel like I'm a person who always has to be really reserved about this stuff because I've got a very niche taste. Again, teasing a bit later on, I'm going to be talking about Sifu, which is renowned almost immediately as an extremely challenging game. And I've played the Cupheads and the Dark Souls already. So Elden Ring is already ticking boxes for me. But there's so much there that can suit such a wider range of audiences that I think it's going to catch a few people that it wouldn't necessarily have caught before. So the person
A,
that we're referring to,
a 97
they
out of 100, kind of like, okay, I'll take a closer look at this.
Yeah, and that's the attention grabber. But doing your due diligence, if you don't have a bottomless wallet, of course, you're going to see a lot more that might be there for you, particularly because most of the planet is currently releasing game footage in its various forms for you to be able to make an
Right.
informed choice. So maybe that's the best piece of advice that can come out of this show, is that if you're considering purchasing Elden Ring, maybe do a bit of research first if you haven't played a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne or a Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, all FromSoft
Pop it
games.
on Twitch. There's plenty of people out there. There are plenty of people out there playing Elden Ring. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6, over 20,000 viewers right now.
No.
Yeah, and that would be low. Like I think the day it came out, it may have been even higher than that.
Right, you're talking it's a Sunday afternoon. People got other things going on. For that to be right high, really that high. There's over 500,000 people watching right now. That's a lot of people watching again.
Yep.
If you think you're on the fence about it, that's what I would say. I say if you like Dark Souls, yes, absolutely.
Yep.
I also
And
would
that's me.
rather say if you like Breath of the Wild, yes.
Yeah, I think anyone who's looking for a challenge in a game that is going to be as enrapturing and beautiful and flexible, and I kind of wanted to say adaptive there, but it's not really adaptive. But
No, but
there's a lot there for someone who will enjoy it, and I'm the
if,
kind of person who will enjoy this game.
if I had to explain this game to somebody else, it's Breath of the Wild plus 2018 God of War.
The Skyrim comparison has been thrown around quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the combat is the
interesting.
same though. I think that's the one difference is that the combat
first person versus third person.
The Souls-like games have a very specific combat system.
They do.
Which
There's a few
Skyrim
changes
is
here
not,
too.
right? And so did God of War. It's Souls-like. It's not a Souls. It's not exactly like it. It's still got their own thing. But if you've played that and like that style, or even Star Wars Fallen Order, if you like those two kind of games, you should give Elden Ring a shot. If not, if you're Celine, she might not like it. I don't know if she's in the market for a game like that. But you got to know your taste. Don't be thrown into the hype. And there's so much hype on this one.
Yep.
So much so that it made me even forget that Horizon came out.
I know. I can't believe Horizon is getting Breath of the Wild again. Like they cannot.
I had forgotten it came out.
They cannot catch a break. I mean, Guerrilla had all the publicity, all the talk for a week, and now Elden Ring has elapsed it, and Horizon has kind of disappeared off people's radars. And I feel like it's going to for quite a while. And people are gonna, the end of the year discussion is gonna come, and people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Elden Ring definitely." What came out before that? Head scratch.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of other games that are going to get forgotten in the Horizon and Elden Ring hype, a couple games coming out in the next week here. Not too many of them. Most of them, to be honest, until I had Googled them, I had never heard of. But that's just me. I'm not really, I guess, in the market for these games. First one on the list is Alex? Anybody know how you pronounce that? Alex 2?
Alex, yep.
Yeah, sure.
Alex. I didn't even know there was an Alex 1. I that's just me. It's coming out on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, PS4, Xbox One, PC. That will be dropping March 1st. Remember, February's short, so it's coming up sooner than you think. According to what I was reading, it is an open world RPG, so the comparisons to Elden Ring are going to be strong and fierce on that one.
Yeah, I don't think so. Alex 1 came out, and boy, was that a shit show. Like it was enjoyed for how.
Why is there a 2? Why is there a 2?
If you imagine, oh god, what's a good comparison to make? If you imagine what Mass Effect, the feeling of Mass Effect, and having a character walk around and talk to people. Imagine a crap version of that set in a weird jungle with a bunch of sci-fi combat that doesn't quite work. And a bunch of characterization that you don't care about, and a leveling system that is incredibly difficult to get on top of.
Wow.
So if that interests you, check out Alex 2. Alex, whatever.
Check out the teaser trailer as well.
It'll be one of those games where people's like, this came out this year, when we
Yep.
look at the end of the year wrap up. Next coming out, we got Far Changing Tides, and that's on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, PS4, Xbox One, Switch for this one, and PC. Also coming out March 1st. This is a sequel to Far Lone Sales. Again, another game I've never heard of. I guess I got to get out there more. It's really bad. When I worked at GameStop, I knew every game that came out. Now I'm like, there's sequels to these games, and man, it's just bad.
You were in the industry, you know.
I guess it was part of my job. I guess I needed to really know about them. The next one, though, I've heard of, and sure everybody and their mother has heard of, Puzzle Quest. And Puzzle Quest 3 is coming out for PC, iOS, and Android. So it's not just a PC game anymore. So it's a pretty big game to get a release on, say, Android and not just iOS devices. I love me some Match 3. I don't know about you guys, but like I have a soft spot for Match 3 games.
I think the last Match 3 game I played on PC was Bejeweled back in 2003.
Mhm.
So
I love a good Match 3. It's like my crack. It's like what I play on my mobile device mostly are Match 3 games.
I think they're suited for mobile for sure.
Yeah. Shadow Warrior 3, which we talked about earlier, is also coming out March 1st. This one is for PS4. Day one, if you've got PS Now, Xbox One, and PC. And don't forget, the PS Now, you can play on your PC. You don't need to have a PlayStation 4 to take advantage of that. If you wanted to sign up for a month and check it out. I like PS Now. I thought it ran better on my PC than it did on my PS4, to be honest.
Never tried it.
Next one is Babylon's Fall, which we talked a little bit about last week. It's being made by Platinum Games, and that's why we talked about it. I don't know anything about this game.
Is this the tower boss battle one?
No, that's Godfall.
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure.
Is that
there is a demo for the PlayStation
E3
out.
Yeah,
it's a co-op action RPG. Team up with 3 players to reclaim the Tower of Babel.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
This is PS5, PS4, PC. So basically a PS exclusive here from the Platinum Games, the Bayonetta people.
Gonna get buried by Elden Ring.
Probably. Yeah. There is a demo. If you want to check it out, check out the demo on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. The big one for the week is Gran Turismo 7. And the only person here that has any interest in it is actually not on this week. So it'd be too tall. I think he said he was going to get it day one. I am not a Gran Turismo guy. Even though I love racing games, Turismo has never done it for me.
I used to love Gran Turismo. Oh, I'm sorry. What are you saying?
I was just going to say the closest I got was Need for Speed Pro Street. But I had Gran Turismo 1 back in the day, playing the R33 Skyline.
Yeah, let's just say the market for Gran Turismo 7 and Elden Ring don't really mesh too much. So you'll probably see a lot on that in the next coming week. I'm sure it looks gorgeous. I'm sure it plays gorgeous. It's just not my style of game.
Amazon's shipping people early copies right now.
Yes, they are. I saw that.
So
I'm sure Sony is not happy about that.
Not happy whatsoever. But yeah, I used to be a Gran Turismo fan. I had 1, 2, and 3. I was really into. I had the wheel and the pedals and all that good stuff in my gaming setup. But yeah, then I fell off. It just got simulation. As it got more it got more boring.
And that's what I didn't like about it. It's too simulation. I don't need it to be 100% real. I need a little horizon, Mm-hmm. And then the last one is Triangle Strategy, which sounds like a tic-tac-toe game, but it's not. It's an actual game coming out on the Switch next week by the guys who brought you Bravely Default and the Octopath Traveler games.
I was going to say it was 3/8 of Octopath Traveler. I think they've whittled it down a little bit to a story that's a bit more easier for audiences.
50 hours long if you want to get into that one. It's just an odd name for a game. Triangle Strategy to me doesn't sound like a video game. It sounds like something that you'd play, like a board game or something like that.
Yeah.
Look, as games get developed, names are going to start disappearing, We're going to have
I
some
know.
really weird ones coming.
I know, but at least Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler sound like actual games to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a weird thing to pick on. That's just me. That's what's coming out this week. Based on your reactions, it seems like everybody's not going to pick up any of those games except for
I probably will
Turismo.
try Babylon's Fall just because I'm curious. But
Try the
I'm
demo.
yeah, that's what I mean. I'll probably try the demo just to see what it's about because I have heard a little bit of hype around that game, but I haven't looked into it myself.
Uh-oh.
Nope, we
Someone's
lost your
stuff
voice.
just died.
Hold on.
Finest Dabs is currently off the scene. He
He
has
cut
had
off his mic.
catastrophic
He's
failure.
Sony heard him talking about Gran Turismo getting shipped early, and they cut off his mic.
Yep.
Amazon's trying to hide that. Is this hosted
Well, look,
on Amazon Web Services?
yeah, probably. It would
They
be.
heard that and they were like, just cut him off, cut the microphone.
Yeah.
Anyway, since we'll wait for him to come back, what are you playing this week? Oh, you know what? Oh, no, there he is. There he is. Can we hear you now?
I hope so. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can. Okay,
That
good.
was so. I think
That
I had
was a little odd.
a power outage. I don't. Oh wait, no, my lights would have turned off. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't know what that was.
Just
Yeah.
that one microphone. The power station running that
Yep.
microphone is what
Right?
what caused the shudder off.
Okay, so what are you playing this week? Let's start with Matt. Matt, what are you playing this week? You said something earlier, and now I'm intrigued to hear what it is.
I did. Well, I actually dropped the name before, but I'm I'm playing Sifu at the moment. And
Seafood? So
Sifu.
Seafood.
Sifu. Shifu.
Seafood.
Is that
It's
another type of tofu?
That's SIFU. Seafood.
If your tofu was incredibly difficult to eat, it required specific
all
parry
tofu
timing.
is incredibly difficult to eat for me. Okay.
If going to your tofu and consuming it was a revenge story which involved the death of your father and seeking vengeance on those who carried out his death, then yes, it is very much another type of tofu.
I think my dad almost he had a moment of seeing the other side when he ate some tofu one time. Yeah.
Maybe that was his story of vengeance. He had the Sifu and then he went out and and bore vengeance on the world. But Sifu, it came out I think 2 weeks ago. Again, buried in the number of releases that we've got rolling at the moment.
No, I've seen a bit of hype about it. I've seen the name out there.
It had its own section of this month where you could dedicate some time and discussion.
It had
to
a week before Horizon came out.
Yes. But it's a great game. I'm really enjoying it. From Slow Clap, makers of The Absolver. They do very much the same here. A very martial arts focused kind of game with light to heavy attacks. A lot of focus on the dodging and the parrying. It's very challenging and punishing, where you might be fighting grunts, that have absolutely no impact on anything, and you could die immediately. But the interesting mechanic of it is that every time you die, you have the opportunity to revive yourself. But every time you die, there is a death counter that will increase your age. So you start at 20 years old and you can make your way up to 70 before you cannot revive again.
So you get 50 lives, essentially.
You get 50 lives, but it stacks each time you die. So you die once, your age goes up by 1. If you cannot bring that death counter down again, when the next time you die, it will go to 2, in which case your age increases by 2. Die again, 3 increases by 3.
So if you're really bad, you'll die. You'll be
dead
from real quick.
20 to 26 in 3 deaths. You can be, I think it takes like 11 deaths to get to 70 in like succession. I don't know. Run the math on that.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but it's. I've heard a lot of people talk about the challenge of this game, and while not many people are saying that they hate it and they don't enjoy it, some people have said it's not for them or that it's too punishing to play. I think with this one, it's about patience. And that's what I've done with this game. I haven't actually finished it yet. I've been playing each level and trying to master each of them and learning different skills for each, which if you play enough, these are skills like me as a player is I'm deploying to learn how to play this character better, as opposed to the skills that you can unlock as you play the game. but patience with it. Playing aspects of the game over and over and over again, uh, not to be killed so many times that it becomes a terrible experience, but making sure that you learn something every single time, and learning the dodge system, the parry system, the patterns of the enemies is another big thing that you kind of do have to learn. The varying aspects of the martial arts that they use and how they impact on your form, being able to dodge as well as parry, like actually physically dodging and moving around the environment, and not just dodging the movements as you try and it's there's a lot of components to this game, but once you get used to it, you kind of fall into a flow. um, the thing that I'm trying to do at the same time as finishing the game, though, is do one of the hardest achievements, which is to finish the game all 5 levels before you get to age 25, which means that starting at 20, you have 5 lives to spend across those 5 levels. And it kind of means playing them over and over again just to make sure that you can stick to one single age. And I made a breakthrough last night, or morning for you guys, whatever it'll be, to where I was 21 at the end of the 3rd level with
Nice.
2 levels to go. So I've got a feeling I'll be able to crack it this week, and then I can jump on Elden Ring.
Well, are you playing anything else or just the one?
Just the one. I haven't got a lot of time on my hands these days, so I kind
I'm
of
with you.
relax with Sifu, which
I
is
have a
weird to say. But yeah,
just I don't know if you guys remember this game. So once I'm going way back again, but this
Welcome to the Way Back podcast.
way back podcast. I like that. Maybe is there a podcast with that name?
Probably.
Um, but there was a game called The Bouncer or Bouncer on PS2.
Yep, that was a Square game, a Squeenix
Yeah,
game.
that was a Square Enix game where it took like Final Fantasy-esque type of characters, and it was a brawler, where it was a 3D brawler where you walked through these levels, and of course, very much like you fought all these characters and you leveled up as you fought and you gained new abilities and things like that. It very much reminds me of Sifu. Sifu looks like it very much has a better art style, and
it's really cool.
yeah, the art style is that I like that painted look. And then also it has a better story, even though it seems like a pretty standard revenge story. It seems like a better story than Brawler. The Bouncer, but
But the
what?
details are there. Like that's the other part.
Mhm.
I've heard a lot of people that kind of go, "Oh yeah, run past that bit, doesn't quite matter. Oh, this bit over here, there's someone dying over there that may be important. I don't know. Run on,
Okay,
beat up some people with your kung fu." But there is depth to it.
that's
There's a
good
bit
to
of story
hear.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, it just reminds me of that game, and that game was one of my favorite games for PS2, which makes me really want to play Sifu. But from what I hear, I know they already tweaked in the second boss on one of their patches, and it's that thing we were just talking about earlier, accessibility versus like making games easier and things of that nature. It's kind of a little bit devastating. I hope that they really end up tweaking the game to, if there's issues with it, to have it more aligned with just to make it more seamless, but not necessarily make it easier. Because I feel like this game isn't made to necessarily be easy. You're supposed to get, take, like you said, just like learn how to play the character versus,
yeah.
you know,
That's where the ease comes in. I think the more you learn about the game, it's about not about what you pump into your character in the game mechanics, but more so you connecting with the way the game is played. That's what makes it easier. So I had no idea there was a patch that rolled in for the second boss, because he's the easiest one that I've ever played. Do you know when that patch came out?
not entirely sure. I would have to look at it, but yeah, I
That's a
can.
shame. I just thought I was really good at dodging. That's
There was
disappointing.
a big patch February 15th.
Let's see. And just quick, guys, I know,
Mm.
let's see. This happened a couple minutes ago. Monica Sanmar wrote in, and I'm not quite sure what this means. Ver life. Do you guys know what that would be referring to? Okay.
I have
Sorry, Monica.
no idea.
Yeah, maybe next time, or you can continue to write in, and we'll follow up on what that is. But anyway.
All right, Finest, you're up. What are you playing?
Oh,
besides Horizon, or is it just Horizon?
it's just Horizon.
It's
Oh,
just Horizon.
I take that back. So I am still playing Ollie Ollie World, like in my quick moments that I have. Where I just have like maybe like 30 minutes to play a game. But in my major sit down sessions, yes, I am playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm about 15 hours in, and I'm really like I my goal was to plow through the game over last week, but the side missions are so good in this game. That
Well, that's
everything,
one thing I heard about it, is that the side missions are unlike any other game.
yeah, they're tight. Like well, the only game that I can really think of is, or two games that I can really think of is Mass Effect and The Witcher. Um, so yeah, the
A
side
comparison and a
missions,
half.
yeah, I mean, they just tie in so well to the story. Everything that I've done, like, I'm not like in Final Fantasy VII Remake. That was one of my biggest issues with that game, was like the side mission, because that's the big, like, last big, I guess, RPG S type game that I played. And I was like finding cats and just doing the most ridiculous thing, and nothing seemed to tie together. Everything was just to get experience points, and kind of just broke up the world and the combat so much so that it really turned me off in the game. But I love the boss battles. Whereas this game, everything that I'm doing so far in the 15 hours that I've experienced has just been so meaningful. I keep on running into characters that, like, I did something for, and then it's just not a one off. I'm running back into them later on, and we're having conversations to where they're speaking about the things that I've helped them with. And there's been a couple instances where I've gone like later into the game, and then they're talking about how I didn't do something, like one of the side missions I haven't done, and I'm like, oh crap, like they know. Like,
They
I'm like,
know.
so I go back and do the side missions, and I come back, and then of course, that alters what they're saying and how they're acting and how their reactions are. And which has been awesome. The underwater in the game, just because the clip that we have playing right now is very much reminding. The underwater, I think, is the best underwater that I've ever played in a game. Those under like I usually hate. I think most gamers do hate those underwater instances. But looking out
Uh
from the
huh.
from looking out from the bottom of like a lake or a creek, and just looking out at the reflections, and I'm playing on PS4, by the way, and looking out at the reflections and how they refract off the water, and looking at buildings above me or rocks above me and things like that just looks absolutely incredible. For small hangups, there is a lot of like small glitches, like like late pop in, and things of that nature. And there's also been
Some open world stuff that most people are used to for a game
yeah,
pushing it.
yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some clipping. I'm not getting that crunch, or that contact that you would normally get with a lot of games. There's just like Sifu. I like when I watch that game, the impact, it just seems like is there. When I'm doing that with Horizon, it just seems like kind of like almost like my spear is like going through a lot of the characters. So I hope that's something that Gorilla is able to patch later on. And I know they talked about doing some patches and things of that nature, but the game is good. The story is absolutely incredible. It's definitely more Horizon so far. After playing the original a couple years back, it's more of what that was so far. But from what I can tell, a lot of improvements. The PS4 version is absolutely incredible. I don't even know how they've compiled all these things into this game so far. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it. And the Valor system is just the combat system where you get to pick and choose your type of gameplay. And they're very much skill trees, but you can mix and match. Of course, you start at the highest point or the lowest point, however you want to talk about it. You start at the one point, and you kind of have to creep your way through the skill tree in order to get to the certain points that you want to mix and match. But the Valor systems is absolutely incredible. I'm really enjoying uh, mixing my Infiltrator, which is a stealth gameplay, so I can go invisible. People can't hear me. Um, my audio, like when going through bushes or stepping on leaves, is like so much quieter. I've mixed that with Hunter, where I can do like a volley of arrows, and like it's almost like a Valkyrie. Like I can like shoot arrows up in the air and it falls into my enemies, and things of that. And just mixing and matching those aspects has been really great. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. And I probably see myself probably dumping like 60 hours into the game over the next couple of weeks. And like I said, I'm not going to pick up Elden Ring until I finish this game.
Oh, you got some strong convictions there.
it's
Uh,
it's about money too, but yeah,
right.
I
Well,
do. Yeah.
for me, I finally cracked open the seal. It's been over a year waiting for that Series X patch, but I finally started playing Cyberpunk.
Nice.
Glorious.
It is gorgeous. I know it's not 4K. There was that whole video about that a couple days ago. It's not truly 4K, whatever. It still looks good. If the city just feels so alive and full of people, uh, it just it's and it's in first person, so you really feel like you're really part of it. The driving is not so great, and there is a decent amount of driving. It's okay, I guess. I guess I play a lot of driving games, so I know what it should feel like. The
It's funny.
story,
They've talked about improving the driving since it came out
oh man,
initially.
I know. And if it
So
was worse, I can only imagine how bad it was. Like the
it
old
wasn't good.
Grand Theft Autos, it was probably terrible. The story takes, I don't know, 8 hours to really get going. It feels like it took forever to even get like what the heck was going on. Because
Yeah.
once you finally finish a certain mission, the title screen comes up. It's like, oh, I guess now we're really starting. Because it's kind of just like a mishmash at the beginning. And
Yeah.
for all the talk of Keanu Reeves, he doesn't show up till 7 hours into the 8 hours, however long it took me to get there.
Yep.
But once you finally get going, you can really choose your missions, and that there is a ton of stuff to do. And
Yes.
I keep making the mistake in picking the things that I'm not high enough level to do.
Yeah, but it's kind
So
of open world in that respect. Like some
yes,
of them you just cannot do at all. But
right.
you know,
So I've made the mistake of trying to do that, and I there's so much involved in this game, whether it's building up your character, and I do like how you can build up your character and certain traits by actually doing actions, which is always
yeah,
preferable to just, oh, I'm just going to load up a point here. The better you are at shooting and getting headshots, you'll increase your shooting ability. The more you run, you increase your athletic ability. So it's got a lot of that to it, and then you can apply your skill and your perk points accordingly as well. Uh, you get a lot of phone calls from people. You get a lot of text messages from people. It really makes you feel like you're in an active and open world, more so than any Grand Theft Auto has ever made me feel.
yeah,
It's not perfect. Okay, the shooting does leave a little bit to be desired from somebody who plays a lot of first person shooters. The stealth, I'm not a big stealth guy, so I suck at it. So whenever I need to be stealthy, I always end up just getting halfway through and then going guns blazing. There's a lot of sex in this game, a lot
it's a very
of it.
sexy game. Yeah,
Really caught me off guard, and it's not just like a little bit, okay, like a lot. And then at one point, after this whole thing happens, they tell you to put on clothes, and I was like, I thought I had put on clothes. I was running around naked for like 2 hours, and you didn't even notice until all of a sudden, you can see what your character's wearing, and I'm like, I don't got no clothes on, like, and I mean no clothes, not just underwear. There's full customization for your character in this game.
yeah. You
So
definitely go balls out with Cyberpunk.
I mean, not just balls down. Let's be inclusive here. You can also be a woman as well. But it's just there's so much to do, and it's not a perfect game. But if they had released this version, it probably would have a much better taste in people's mouths.
Yeah, we're talking about the taste in people's mouths a lot today. I feel like I just need to point that out. It's
Maybe.
tasty.
Have we all said taste in people's mouths? Is that
It's been said a lot.
Well, this with I think what's the Elden Ring thing is making a lot of people realize, like, even though a game is great and everybody says it's great, it might not be for you. And I think
So
people are
Elden Ring is
finally
the
really,
caviar. It's caviar.
I don't know. I mean, it's not caviar. It's definitely
Everyone says it's great. It's like a very rich kind of hoity-toity food, but when you
No,
eat
it's
it, you're
not a
kind of like,
hoity. I wouldn't say it's a hoity-toity food. It's definitely it's a casual's food. It's like high class beef. Like it's a higher class of beef rather than
okay.
what you'd get at McDonald's. Okay, like everybody likes McDonald's, right? Like it's not the best, but it'll satisfy your hunger for a little bit. It's cheap. It's available everywhere. But if you want like a really good classy burger, you're gonna have to you have to seek it out, and it's not for everybody. Not
Mm.
everybody wants that.
So what's
That's
cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk's like an upscale fast food burger.
Okay. So
Okay.
not
Like
your in
you
and
don't you
outs,
don't
but
have
like
them you don't have them probably, but like a Five Guys kind of burger.
I don't
we don't
consider
have
Five
Five
Guys
Guys.
upscale.
Yeah, we've got boutique burger places
Right,
like
same
shout out to
idea.
Australian
So
audiences. Huckster Burger would be a
you've
big
got
one.
not Burger King, but you have whatever it's called over in Australia.
Hungry Jacks.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, for some reason that's the
So
only one.
it's
It's
not
different.
if something's not for everybody. It's not to say that it's
Yep.
bad. It's not. I'm not even talking about the price, but some people just they want to eat because they want to eat. For me, my dad, he'll eat anything. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. He doesn't care.
Mhm.
So, but for somebody who wants something a little bit classier, they're going to seek that out. He'll go. He'll eat it, but it's not like he'd be like, I need to go back there. That's how I feel about Elden Ring. Like, sure, it's
Okay.
good, it's great, but I don't need to always have that.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
what about
need that.
Cyberpunk still?
It's
Is that for
still,
you?
it's not, is Cyberpunk, I thought I would not like it,
Mhm.
but at some places like, oh, that's good. I need that just a little bit some of the time. It's not like I want to play this style of game all the time. It's not
Okay.
my favorite style of game, but it checks all my boxes.
Interesting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, as long as you continue to play it and
I
continue
need
to
to find
report on
out
how good it goes. Yeah.
the story has grabbed me. That's what it is. The story has grabbed me in a way that some games might not grab people.
Yeah.
You'll
It's
look through a
intriguing.
bad game. You'll play through a bad game if the story hooks you enough.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I have done it.
I'd argue it's not a bad game if the story's hooked you that you want to play it, even if the
I have
mechanics are
played through
terrible.
games where the controls have been annoying or not the best, or you just get frustrated at it just because the story. I wanted to see how the story ended.
I'd love to hear an example, but I wouldn't press you to think of it right now.
Have you ever played Advent Rising?
No.
No, this is old. It's like 20 years old. Again, we're going 20 years in the past.
Okay.
It was a game. The controls were awful, but the story had me hooked on it. And for the same matter, since I feel the same with TV shows. If you like a TV show for so long, even if it gets bad at the end, you still want to see the resolution of it. Whether or not it's good is another story. Talking, call out X-Files. The last season of X-Files is
Okay.
kind of lousy.
I thought you were
I-
going to say Game of Thrones.
Nobody needs to watch the end. You could just end it. You could just make up your own story. It'll be better. But
I get that, but no, I still wouldn't compare it to TV because I mean I'm physically like active in a game, like not of course running around, but
you've invested so much of your life into it.
I
At
will
that
totally
point,
draw. I mean me personally, I'll
I
totally
have
drop a
done
game.
it. I mean, I
Yeah.
have done it. I tried with X-Files. I just could not get through the last couple episodes.
Mm.
Terrible. Game of
Mm.
Thrones. I was so hyped on it. I watched all of them, the week it came out, and it was just like, why? Why did I do that? It just didn't have that satisfaction. Some games have the story satisfaction. Some games do not.
Mhm.
Like I said, Assassin's Creed, I couldn't get through the gameplay. It just got so boring, but I have actually seeked out YouTube videos on them. So does that count? I
To
like
see
the
where the
story.
story goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't want to play through it anymore.
That is probably one of the ones I will agree with. That you don't have to run halfway across ancient Greece. Like Odyssey, I can see you definitely doing that with that. For sure.
I've done it with all of them. I
Okay.
can never beat an Assassin's Creed. I just get so annoyed. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
where is this going to end? It doesn't need to be 60 hours every time. Although I have to be told to be fair, I haven't played the last two. Anyway, does anybody else have anything they'd like to shout out?
Yeah. One last thing before we go. So Hopefully it doesn't get postponed again. But for everyone watching this episode, I will be on the Game Informer show this coming week when it goes live. So I believe it'll go live on Thursday.
So it's
So
already recorded?
no, we will be doing recording this week. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, please look forward to that. I look forward to being on it and talking with those guys. And yeah, that's all I got. It's gonna be a little bit of fun.
Matt, you need to plug any personal pods.
Oh yeah,
besides the dead drop.
Oh, okay. I've got the Teaching Culture cast as well.
Okay.
That's about teaching. Why should I be plugging a particular podcast?
I don't know. Just wrap it up here. I'll plug. I plug the Marc and JD podcast again. That's what I host every week. I'm on Twitch and everything. If you like me hosting, you can go check me out there. It's X-rated. It's very dirty. We do talk about really messed up things sometimes. So yes,
nice.
I try not to curse in a gaming podcast, but these things happen. So if you check us out next week. Episode 78 will be next week. Probably have a different host, probably have different guests, but make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter and on Facebook. Are we on Facebook? Yeah, we're on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Then Facebook and Twitch, slap that like button so you can be notified anytime you got a new episode, either posting or going live. You never know with us. And make sure you give us a subscribe. You got to spell subscribe there correctly, though.
Oh, gosh, I'm taking that off.
Otherwise, people are going to subscribe, and I don't know what that means. Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, any of those podcasting platforms, give us a listen, and we'll check you out next week. Peace out.
See you, lads.
Later, everyone. I'll fix that subscribe.
Do subscribe.
Subscribe, please.
Subscribe.